It took me 6 months to finally finish editing this video, but better late than never. Hello everyone, my name is Kazunori, but I go by Local Small Cat here on YouTube, and 2025 is over. Happy New Year everyone! I mean, it's already February, but I'm not that late to the party. The year is still young. Okay, and I want to celebrate by ranking every single anime I watched in 2025. I watched a total of 20 anime series, which is quite low, but I had a rough year, guys. And believe it or not, 2026 is already going even worse. I will talk more about that at the very end of the video for those of you who care, because I don't want to bring the mood down right now. But one good thing is that I already watched 7 series so far this year, so the 2026 wrap-up is gonna be like 2 hours long, I can already tell. But anyways, the rules are, I'm going to list every anime from my favorite watch to least favorite watch. This doesn't mean objectively the best to objectively the worst. This list is 100% subjective and is strictly based on how much I enjoyed watching the series, not how good the series is objectively. That's why a series that is higher quality might be lower on my list than a series that is lower quality. I'm not here to give each series a professional review. This is just about the vibes and how much fun I had watching it. So, let's get to it. Number 1 is the first season of Urusei Yatsura, the 2022 remake. My absolute favorite anime I watched in 2025. I never watched the original. To be honest, I wasn't even familiar with the original until last year. I've only ever seen pics of Lam online, but again, I had no idea who she was. And I truly did not expect to absolutely fall in love with the series. I watched it once by myself and then rewatched it shortly after with my boyfriend, because obviously I had to get him in on the fun. I love the animation. It's probably my favorite animation style of all time. It reminds me a lot of Gravity Falls. Bright, saturated, colorful, bubbly. I find it very nostalgic. I love the characters, especially Lam. She has become one of my favorite female characters of all time. She's so adorable, I'm going to die. I like every character, even the unlikable ones. Even Moroboshi. He's an absolute sleazebag, and yet I can't bring myself to hate him. I love his relationship with Lam. They are both awful to each other, and it brings me an immeasurable amount of joy. They are perfect for each other. The show is absolutely hilarious. I haven't laughed this much at an anime since Spy Family. The beach episode with Pochi and the reveal at the end was the hardest I have ever laughed in my entire life at an anime. It's truly one of the funniest reveals I've seen in my entire life. I was in tears. The whole show is absolutely ridiculous. I adore Rumiko Takahashi's humor and creativity and art style. And yes, I only watched season 1 so far because I didn't want the series to be over. I know that's so lame, but I really wanted to take my time and enjoy the second season later on. It just brings me so much joy and I didn't want it to be over just yet. I think it has become my comfort anime and I will definitely rewatch it many times throughout my life. And it has the absolute best intro and outro songs of any anime ever. Love Trap Muchu was in my 2025 YouTube music recap, and it's genuinely my all-time favorite anime intro song, and might even be my favorite song of all time. Number 2 is Orb on the Movements of the Earth. Orb is a masterpiece, and everyone should watch it at least once in their life. If you haven't watched it already, you should definitely make some time for it in 2026. The storytelling is brilliant. It's such a breath of fresh air from the current anime trend of aesthetics over substance. But that's a subject for another video. My favorite characters are Ogzi, obviously, and Novak. I think Novak is one of the best written anime characters I've seen in a long time. I could ramble for hours about Orb, but I'll keep it short. It's one of the best pieces of media I have ever watched. And it would have been a perfect 10 out of 10 series if it wasn't for one flaw, one criticism, the one thing I didn't like about the series. The ending. And I actually have a whole video that I just posted earlier this month where I discuss it in great detail. So if you want to hear more, you can watch it after you finish this video. It's very good, I am very proud of it. But if it wasn't for that, it might have even been top spot on this list. Maybe. Number 3 is Kuroko no Basket, the whole 3 seasons. I've watched Kuroko before when I was either in middle school or high school. I rewatched it last year with my boyfriend, who watched it for the very first time, and he absolutely loved it. It's either his favorite anime of all time, or at least in his top 3. I also obviously love it, I always have. Kuroko has always been one of the most intense anime series I've ever seen. The amount of times I held my breath watching the show is insane. It's an exhilarating experience. My boyfriend cried multiple times while we were watching it, just from how good it was. Have you ever seen a piece of media so amazing you can't help but cry thinking how much you love it? That was Kuroko for him. When I was younger, my favorite character was Aomine, and this time around it was also Aomine. Obviously, he's cool as fuck. And my second favorite is Kagami. Number 4 is Ouran High School Host Club. Honestly, Ouran and Kuroko are interchangeable. Ouran is one of my absolute favorite anime series of all time. Top 10, to be specific. I watched it like 4 times. First time being either in middle school or in high school, I don't remember. It was hard for me to put Kuroko above Ouran because technically I do love Ouran more. But Ouran isn't finished. And it will never be finished. We are never getting a second season, and I am at peace with that. So for that reason, it will be number 4. I will always love the show. It brings me so much comfort, it's so funny, it's literally pure entertainment. I rewatched it twice in 2025, back to back. Once by myself, and then immediately after once again with my boyfriend, who loved it, obviously. Favorite character, Haruhi. I love her. And random local small cat, Lordrop. I actually used to look exactly like Haruhi when I was in high school. I had short hair, same color, same cut. Every single person assumed I was a boy, so I will always have a special place in my heart for Haruhi. Number 5 is Delicious in Dungeon. Favorite character, Marcel. I think Marcel, Frieren, and Mao Mao should meet and just be freaky together. And the guy from Mononoke, the medicine seller. They all exude the same freaky energy. About the series, I don't have that much to say. It's a fun watch. The animation is beautiful, the characters are very likable, it's very funny. It took a few episodes for me to really enjoy it, because at first I expected it to be something different. I don't know what I expected exactly, but it took me a little bit to really get immersed in it and get used to the pacing of the show, because it's definitely very different from most anime series. The pacing reminds me of Frieren. It's a bit slower, it feels like you are on the adventure with them, the good, the bad, and the boring. Or mundane, I should say. It doesn't feel like you just watch the most exciting highlights of a journey. It feels like you are on the journey. And by the end of the season, I was hooked. I'm excited for a second season. It's a very charming show. Also, the whole resurrection part really took me by surprise. It was a lot more gory than I anticipated, which I love. That whole plot reminded me so much of Fullmetal Alchemist. And we all know how much I love Fullmetal Alchemist. You really thought I would go a full video without mentioning Fullmetal? You know me better than that. Number 6 is Parasite, the Maxim. Whatever that means. Watch this show. If you haven't seen this show, do it this year. I went into it expecting just a horror, and it exceeded every single expectation I had. It was a spectacular watch. It reminded me of Orb in many ways. They are both very introspective, philosophical, and have really deep social commentary. But, unlike Orb, it had a perfect ending. I loved the ending. I just loved the series as a whole. It was objectively one of the best series I watched last year. Probably top 3 best series, or even top 2. It might be the best after Orb. Madhouse does it again. Substance over aesthetics. Everyone say thank you, Madhouse, for producing such thought-provoking series. It's also interchangeable with Delicious in Dungeon. I don't know which one I would put first. This one actually hooked me from the first episode, unlike Meshi, but Meshi is more charming and immersive, but I really liked the plot of Parasite and the pacing and the philosophical discussions, so I would say they are pretty tied. I don't know. Number 7 is Solo Leveling, both seasons. Guys, I finally watched Solo Leveling. I am finally in the loop, and I don't think I enjoyed it as much as everyone else did. Don't get me wrong, it's such a fun watch. It's pure entertainment. We binged both seasons in like a week or less. We could not stop watching it. It was very fun and very addicting, but it is definitely a classic example of entertainment over substance. I would put it into the same category as Jujutsu, as in cool fights and pretty animation and hot people. And that's kind of it. I am definitely more of a quality storytelling type of person. In-depth world building, complex characters and plots, social commentary, and that is just not what Solo Leveling is. Or at least not yet. But I'm not holding out too much hope. I think it does a good job at being just a fun watch. It doesn't need to be more than that, it's just not my favorite thing. I did like it a lot more than Jujutsu though. Just putting that out there. Number 8 is The Apothecary Diaries Season 2. Take this with a grain of salt, because I watched it only once as it was airing, and waiting for a whole week for a single episode definitely affected a bit of the enjoyment for me. I very much prefer binging series personally, so I do need to rewatch it in one sitting to properly reevaluate how I feel about this season. It might climb higher on the list after that, but for now it will stay here. I think it was a good season. It had a lot of really good episodes. I loved the whole Lowlan reveal. I also loved the progress we made with Mao Mao and Jinshi. I ship them so much. I don't give a fuck if you don't. I love them. And I was giggling like a dumbass for half of this season, so extra points for that. At this point in time, I still prefer the first season. At least for me, the first season was absolutely flawless. It was such a good piece of media. It's what made me fall in love with this series, and it has a very special place in my heart. But I do think this was also pretty solid. Maybe a bit slow at times, but again, I need to rewatch it. Because it might have just been the week-long waiting time between episodes that made me think that. Favorite character, obviously Mao Mao. I think she might be my favorite anime female character ever, or at least top 2 or top 3. Number 9 is Skip and Loafer, Season 1. I am saying Season 1 because I still have hope that we're getting a second season. I know we will, I say, as they drag me away into the padded room. I absolutely adored this series. It made me want to read the manga, which is very rare for me, but I still have hope that we're getting a second season, so I'll keep holding on. Not yet. Skip and Loafer is one of my favorite romance anime I've seen so far. I actually wanted to make a video about it titled Skip and Loafer is what Kimi ni Todoke should have been, but I knew people would execute me on the spot if I started talking shit on Kimi ni Todoke. And yes, I have a lot to say. Please let me know if it's something you are actually interested in watching. Skip and Loafer is like a warm hug. I adore Mitsumi, and I love the relationship and dynamic between her and Sosuke. I love that the series discusses more serious topics, such as being a child star, the hardships of leaving your hometown and your family in order to pursue a better education, feeling like an outsider because you are from the countryside and everyone around you grew up in a big city, the insecurities that come with being a teenage girl, the dynamics of girl friendships, the struggles of being an overachiever. It touches on so many relevant teenage experiences and issues. It's so much more than just a romance. Unlike Kimi ni Todoke, where we spent a whole 20-minute episode debating whether the main character should give the love interest homemade cookies. Skip and Loafer also had a cookie episode, but it was actually done right. Like, this feels real. It feels human. It still captures the innocence, the purity, the awkwardness, shyness, and uncertainty of teenage love, without being infuriating and slow and going backwards every 2 episodes. Okay, I'm done complaining about Kimi ni Todoke. And another thing that I absolutely adore about Skip and Loafer is the trans representation. It's so rare in media in general, but especially in anime, to see trans representation, especially done with so much grace. Nao is such a wonderful character. She wasn't the butt of the joke or looked down upon in any way or a sob story. Not only is she successful in her career, but all the young girls in the series look up to her as the coolest and most stylish person ever. Seeing a transgender woman be a role model to the main character is so beautiful, especially in a world where bigots like to weaponize children in order to take away trans rights. It made me very emotional because transgender people deserve to see happy trans stories. They deserve all types of representation. They deserve transgender characters who are written with care and love. I am someone who has experimented with my identity for a few years when I was in high school. In case it wasn't obvious from the Haruhi thing, I experienced on my own skin how cruel the world can be to gender non-conforming individuals. And that was only a fraction of what the trans community has to experience every day. I have so much love and respect for transgender people. You all deserve to feel safe, happy, and loved in your own bodies. And I want all of you to know you are always welcome here, no matter your identity. This world is already cruel enough. I don't want any of you to ever worry about being judged for who you are when you click on one of my videos. This will always be a safe space for everyone, regardless of who you are. Unless you are a bigot, in that case you can fuck off. Number 10 is Ranma and a Half, Season 1, the MAPPA remake. This was my first ever Rumiko Takahashi anime. I hadn't seen any of her works previously. I never even heard about the original before I saw the adaptation pop up on my Netflix. And as soon as I started watching Ranma, I fell in love. The humor, the lovable characters, the adorable art style. It all just clicked for me and I decided I wanna watch every single series she has created. Clearly, it's been going great so far. It even made me wanna watch Inuyasha, and I was never even remotely interested in watching Inuyasha before, but I've been converted. I am a changed woman. I watched Ranma twice in 2025. Yes, once by myself and then once with my boyfriend, you know the drill. Yes, he loved it. The first season was incredible. I adore Akane, Ranma, and Ryoga with my whole heart and soul. I love Pichan. I love Akane and Ranma's relationship so much. I love when characters who are clearly madly in love with each other pretend that they hate each other. It's the cousin of enemies to lovers, and I am a sucker for enemies to lovers. The second season I watched this year, so it's not part of this video, it will be in the 2026 wrap-up. But I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as the first one, unfortunately. But back to season 1, my beloved. I loved how dynamic yet elegant the fight scenes were, and how they were balanced perfectly by the sweet and tender romantic moments between Ranma and Akane. I thought it was the perfect mix of action and romance. Can't say the same about season 2, but anyways, I'm not bitter or anything. Mappa When I Catch You is on site. Season 1 was truly the definition of a comfort show. It made me feel all warm and fuzzy, and I cannot wait for season 3. Hopefully it's as good as season 1. The only thing I didn't like is the nudity because they are 16, but I am willing to let it slide just this one time because it's a comedy from the 80s. After all, it's a sign of the times. And it's obviously meant to highlight that Ranma doesn't have the concept of covering up when he is in his girl form because he is a boy who is used to showing his chest. He doesn't understand that it's inappropriate and thus makes everything very awkward for everyone around him. I get it, I know what the gag is, but even if it's not meant to be the usual fetish content that you see in anime when it comes to naked teenagers, you know, the jerk off now, you like kids, don't you? You know, an anime classic. Even if it's meant for comedic shock value and nudity is not inherently sexual, obviously, I personally would rather do without it. Or at least make them adults. Whether it is intentionally fetishizing or not, creeps will be creeps and they will use it for those purposes regardless. Thankfully, it's not very present in season 1. Can't say the same about season 2. Season 1 of Ranma. Love it. Big fan. Number 11 is Dandadan Season 2. Either interchangeable or very close with Season 1 of Ranma. Very solid season, lots of fun, new characters, new versions of characters, amazing fights and animation as always. I think it was a really good second season, not much to say really. It definitely didn't have the impact of Season 1, but that's because Season 1 was truly iconic. It literally took the whole anime community by storm. It was a phenomenon. The second season just continued the story, so obviously it wasn't as memorable or new as the first one. That's also probably why Ranma is above, because it was completely new and refreshing for me. Also, first season of Dandadan was more monster of the week, with a new enemy each episode, while this season had less plot lines spread over multiple episodes each. So it felt like less things happened, if that makes sense. Regardless, I still loved it. Favorite character, just like in season 1, is Okarun, and Momo is a very close second. I also ship them very much, obviously. Number 12 is Toradora. This isn't my first time watching Toradora. I watched it for the first time like 10 years ago, maybe more. And I remembered loving it, but I couldn't recall anything that actually happened, so I decided to rewatch it. And oh my god, I enjoyed it so much. It sent me down a romance anime spiral that I am currently still stuck in. I've never been much of a romance anime fan or romance fan in general. I've watched only a few throughout my life. I prefer romance when it's within another genre, like comedy, drama, action, whatever. You get my point. I like romance as a subplot. But rewatching Toradora honestly ignited something in me. I've been binging romance anime ever since. It's been so fun. I love Taiga, I love Ryuji, I love them together. I love a tsundere. I see myself in them, I am them, and they are me. My favorite romance trope is enemies to lovers, but I do enjoy a friends to lovers. I like that it's a slow burn, but not too slow, if that makes sense. As in, it's not frustrating to watch. Kimi ni todoke. Anyways, it feels very natural. And it has such a rewarding ending. It's truly wonderful. I cried, okay? It truly deserves to be considered one of the classics. It's a must-watch romance anime, in my opinion. Number 13 is Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. Same story as Toradora. Initially, I watched it not long after it came out in 2014, I believe, and I loved it. I couldn't recall anything now, so I decided to rewatch it. And I loved it so much, I forced my boyfriend to watch it with me immediately after I finished it. And he also really enjoyed it. So I rewatched it 2 times last year, back to back. As you can see, that has been the trend of 2025. It's honestly not much to say, it's just pure entertainment. It's such a fun and easy watch. The characters are so likable. It's genuinely really good comedy. I laughed out loud a few times, which is really rare for me. The romance is also really sweet. I was really rooting for Sakura, and I really liked the ending. I thought it was a very appropriate and hilarious way to finish the series off. It's honestly such a comforting series. I highly recommend watching it if you haven't already. The animation is also really satisfying. It's so bright, colorful, clean, and bubbly. Very crisp and refreshing. I think it's the perfect show to get you out of an anime slump if you are currently in one. It's a very easy watch. Number 14 is Sakamoto Days, Season 1, Part 1. It was okay. It was a fun watch, but that's kind of it. I really like Sakamoto. I think he's a very unique and entertaining character. He reminds me of Saitama. They are both really cool characters that are stuck in a very mid-series. I hate One Punch Man, by the way. Just putting that out there. Well, hate is a very strong word. I dislike One Punch Man. A little bit of a tangent. I rewatched the first 2 seasons not too long ago, and I realized how incredibly mediocre the series is. I love Saitama and Genos as characters. I love them as a duo, but the actual plot and pacing of the series is abysmal. At times, even unwatchable. And I remembered enjoying the series when I was a kid, but rewatching it as an adult was so underwhelming. I dropped it in the middle of season 2, and I almost never drop series this far along. But season 2 of One Punch Man defeated me. It bored me to tears. It put both me and my boyfriend to sleep every single time we tried to watch an episode. Without fail, every single episode of season 2, we would end up either pausing and taking a nap or fighting to stay awake and going to sleep immediately after the episode was over. And no, I didn't even attempt to watch the 3rd season, and I am not interested to watch it ever. Imagine having Saitama and Genos as main characters and still being the most boring shonen I've ever seen. Truly the fumble of the decade. Back to Sakamoto. I know part 2 is much better than part 1. I already started watching it and it's already a big improvement. But I started watching it this year, so I guess you'll have to wait until the 2026 wrap-up to hear my full thoughts on it. Number 15 is Another. This is also a rewatch. It's been so long since I've seen it for the first time that I forgot everything. Except for the umbrella scene. I never forgot the umbrella scene. And I actually enjoyed watching it again. It's not groundbreaking, it's not the best anime I've ever seen, but honestly, it's a fun watch. The intro fucking slaps though. Such an iconic intro. It's not extremely scary, but it gave me the heebie-jeebies here and there, which is honestly the bare minimum for a horror series, but the horror anime genre rarely meets that bare minimum. It's rough out there. The deaths are definitely the most entertaining part of the series. Some are genuinely disturbing, especially the boat propeller one. That one is the absolute worst. Overall, it was okay, even fun at times, not much else to say. Number 16 is Mononoke. This might be the only controversial ranking on my list, because I know Mononoke is generally pretty highly rated, but I had very complicated feelings about it. I enjoyed some of it, and I absolutely hated the rest. I talk about it in great detail in an upcoming video. You'll have to wait for that to come out. I'm sorry, but it would take me 20 more minutes to give you my full review, and we really don't have the time right now. But generally, I only enjoyed the last 3 stories. I hated the first 2 stories, and I hated the movies. You'll have to wait for the video to hear my full review. I'm sorry, but I promise it's gonna be a great video. Number 17 is Wotakoi, Love is Hard for an Otaku. I watched this series sometime after rewatching Nozaki-kun because I was in the mood for a fun comedy romance anime, and this seemed like a more grown-up version of Nozaki-kun, but instead of high school, it was a workplace rom-com, and oh my god, it was so mid. Everything about this series is just mid. The chemistry between the characters, mid. The plot, mid. At best. Very forgettable. I genuinely cannot recall almost anything that happened. Animation, genuinely really bad. The backgrounds were just empty. The budget for this entire series was probably $10, and they spent it on coffee or something because it looked so incredibly cheap. Not even the enemies to lovers secondary couple did anything for me. So many people watched this series. So many people recommend this series. And I have no idea idea why. I put it in the background when I was working out, and I can't imagine it being anything other than background noise when you do something else. I guess I'll give it a point because the main love interest was hot, but he was also incredibly boring, so it kinda cancels out, to be honest. And he had hentai figures in his room at his grown age! The ick I got. Actually, I take my point back. Number 18 is Uzumaki. I think we all know why this is here. I actually didn't hate it as much as everyone else seemed to hate it, but it was definitely still shit. Animation was abysmal, worst animation on this entire list. Plot felt very rushed, but it was scary. At times. It was supposed to be a horror, and some of the scenes were genuinely disturbing and gross. And also, I laughed really hard at this chase scene.
There they are! This way! No, Dad! Get out of our way! I see them over there! Kazunori! Run for it! Come back here! Kazunori! Stop right there!
I can't run any further.
Yoriko, you little twerp! How many times is it gonna take to beat some sense into you?
So, I'll give it that. Number 19 is Dusk Maiden of Amnesia. This series can die in a fire. Whoever made this series should be punished for their crimes against me, specifically. It feels like this show was chemically engineered in a lab in order to piss me off. I will refrain from complaining for 10 minutes straight about how dogshit this series was. So, very briefly, supposed to be a horror, not scary at all by any stretch of the imagination. Repetitive plot, it felt like we were going in fucking circles for half the series. Inconsistencies in the plot, specifically surrounding Yuko's abilities. Oh yeah, main criticism, every single scene in this damn anime was focused around Yuko's 15-year-old breasts. And this is the type of fetish content I mentioned earlier when talking about Ranma, and this, I'm not willing to let it slide. Most useless, bland, annoying main character on this whole list. All he did was be horny for 13 episodes straight. If I could beat his ass right now, I would. And arguably the most offensive crime committed by the series is that it was so fucking boring. Straight up snooze fest. I would rather be executed on the spot than sit through this ever again. And number 20 is Corpse Party. And last, but definitely least, is Corpse Party. This is the absolute worst anime I watched in 2025. It felt like I was being waterboarded for 2 hours straight. This was actually a rewatch. I watched it initially around the time it came out when I was in middle school. And I kind of enjoyed it back then. I was also like 11, 12, so that explains it. And watching it again at 24 was a very different experience. It was an excruciating watch. Not only was it not scary, it was actually so fucking boring, and every single character was such an idiot. I'm glad they all died because holy shit, y'all had it coming. Especially that fucking dumbass who let his sister pee alone outside, even though they took baths together fully naked at home. Disgusting, by the way. They are way too old to be naked together in the fucking bath. But peeing is too much. This is where we draw the line, apparently. The panty shots were outrageous. Every single time you had a decent death, it would be ruined by children's underwear. Classic anime move, baby. Whoever is responsible for this slop should be locked up immediately. And these are all the anime series I watched in 2025. I didn't watch almost any movies. I only saw Demon Slayer Infinity Castle at the cinema when it came out, and the 2 Mononoke films. I liked Infinity Castle and I hated Mononoke, so there's that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video format. I'm really excited to do these little wrap-ups every year and just sit down and talk about my thoughts on literally every anime I watch. As I said, the 2026 wrap-up will be a lot longer. There are so many good series in it, and I'm also gonna do it in a tier ranking format, so that's gonna be really fun. You guys are gonna love it, I promise. So, life update. This video was supposed to come out at the end of January or beginning of February, but unfortunately my dog Oscar, that I've shown in previous videos, passed away. I've had him since I was 8 years old. He has been my dog for the past 16 years. He watched me grow up and I watched him grow old. And this happened only 2 years after losing my other childhood dog, Emmy. So I lost both of my dogs in 2 years, which has been really rough. We had to put Oscar down on the 25th of January, only a week before my 25th birthday. 25 is supposed to be such a special birthday, and I ended up just crying and feeling miserable for the whole day. It was the actual worst birthday of my life. And the same week as my birthday, I ended up in hospital with a severe food poisoning that left me bedridden for 3 days. They were literally the worst 2 weeks of my entire life. And unfortunately, it didn't end there, because a month later, in March, I got fired from my job. And that was kind of the tipping point for me, and I ended up in a really dark place. But finally, after months of unemployment and quite honestly, depression, I am finally beginning to claw my way up of this slumber I've been in. I am so sorry that I am so late with this video, but I hope you enjoyed it regardless, because I worked really hard on it. And now I'm finally excited to do YouTube again, so hopefully the next video will come out much sooner. And one happy update is that we have a new cat. Well, we adopted him in late December, so he has been here for a while. But surprise, this is Boomy. Bad news is that he doesn't get along with our two girls and he needs to be separated at all times. That has been fun, but yay, new cat. Life has been, and life is, and life will be, and honestly there's nothing we can do about it. So thank you so much for still being here. If anyone is still here, is any of you still watching at this point? If you are, honestly, I am so grateful for you. Thank you so much for watching my content, and I promise I will see you very soon. Bye!